Nice teachers struggle with behavior. They struggle with behavior year after year after year, and it doesn't matter the grade level, they're going to continue to struggle. Now, before I explain why, it's important that we establish a definition, or I should say my definition of a nice teacher. And so I'm going to go over 6 behaviors or traits of a nice teacher. Then we're going to talk about the results or results of being a nice teacher. And then finally, I'm going to give you a takeaway, a solution that you don't want to miss. Okay, before we get there, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Give us hit that like button, leave a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so definition of a nice teacher. The first thing is that they judge intent. So they judge the intent of misbehavior. So they're looking for a silver lining in every misbehavior. Now, this isn't a bad trait as a person at all, but we're going to see how that can affect your classroom. So in other words, you see a student misbehavior and your first thought is, well, did they mean to misbehave? Were they trying to be a mean person? Were they being disrespectful? This sort of thing. Or did they make a mistake? Did they make an honest, innocent mistake? And so nice teachers tend to judge that, and they'll let some of those behaviors go, or go with just a reminder or a warning, etc. And they'll only try to address or respond to what they believe to be more severe or more intentional misbehavior. Okay? Second thing is, and this is related, is they tend to remind. So they remind students after misbehavior, or during a routine and students are out of line, they'll remind students to get back in line. So there's lots of reminders. A student will misbehave, or they'll call out without raising their hand, and the teacher will respond with a reminder, especially if they judge the intent to be innocent. Along the same lines is they redirect. So some students are chatting off task, and the teacher will go and redirect them, saying, you need to be doing this, a reminder that you need to do this, and students, please do this. And so there is a lot of redirection. Okay, number 4 is they reward a lot. So they reward in exchange for good behavior. A student behaves, perhaps it's a difficult student and there's a behavior contract, and that student behaves for a period of time, and then the teacher rewards that student. It can also come in the form of a whole class. So the whole class gets free time if they behave a certain way. Or if they behave a certain way during this lesson, you'll end a couple minutes early to go to recess or whatever it is. But they tend to reward a lot in exchange for good behavior. Okay? And sort of related to these first 3, they pull students aside. Pull aside. So they pull students aside for pep talks, for discussions about behavior, asking students why they misbehaved, trying to counsel them and let them know how their behavior affects others, and asking the students what better choice they could have made in this sort of thing. And again, these things don't necessarily, and I'm not leading to these things being that these are bad people or anything like that, because this kind of thing, when you pull someone aside to have a discussion, it's natural. It's a normal thing that we do, like with our friends and family and our children and things like that. Number 6 is they praise, oh, I don't know what happened to my pen. There we go. They praise excessively. And what I mean by that is they praise often in a way that, at least here at Smart Classroom Management, we don't believe is worthy. So worthy praise, in our definition for Smart Classroom Management, worthy praise is praise for new learning, and then behavior, effort, performance that has gone beyond what that student has done before. And this is real improvement, real change, something really substantial. Then we give praise, because praise means something to a student when they already on the inside know that they've improved. So it's a form of recognition, feedback that I see you and I see what you're doing, and this can be very powerful. Nice teachers tend to praise for common expectations. So pushing in their chair, or lining up how they were taught, how they were supposed to, or taking out the laptops like they're supposed to, like they were taught. Again, the first time this is done, that's worthy praise. But when you're praising over and over and over again, which nice teachers tend to do, that's when we see some results that may not be very positive. Okay, so this is the definition of nice that we're talking about. You may have some of these, or all of them, or none of them, which is a good thing. But if you see yourself in any of these, we'll talk about the results and why. Because you're doing these things, it's leading to more behavior, why you are struggling with behavior despite being such a nice teacher. Because if you were to describe this to me as a person, I'd think that's a really nice person. But here's the problem. Here are the results. In this day and age, especially, but this has been the case for quite a while, is that by doing these things, you'll struggle with respect. So students won't respect you. That doesn't mean they're going to be disrespectful towards you, but these sort of things lead to students thinking and seeing you as being a pushover, as not being the kind of strong leader that students respect and behave for. Okay? Second thing is always, let's see if I have room here. More misbehavior. Always more misbehavior, really any of these things. So you can take really any of them, and they're going to result in more misbehavior. Rewarding is something that is kind of interesting, because in the moment you will see improvement. So in the actual moment, but misbehavior gets worse over time, because the message students receive is that what they're doing doesn't have any intrinsic value. Behaving and being kind to others and respectful to others doesn't have intrinsic value, and they deserve to be paid for it. Okay? Now, there are more reasons why rewarding in exchange for good behavior, some people call it bribing students, is a bad thing. We'll go over that in a future video. And really, each of these we can go into more in depth, but all of them result in more misbehavior. And often it's because students see it as unfair, because you are the judging, reminding, and redirecting are inconsistent, show inconsistency, which will make more sense when we get to our solution. Same with pulling aside. Students see it as weakness, because none of this is real accountability. And when there isn't any true accountability where students reflect on their misbehavior on their own, when they reflect on their misbehavior without forcing a reflection, so making them fill out a reflection form or you questioning them or anything like that, when they reflect on their own, that's when change in behavior actually happens. That's when accountability does its good work. Okay? All right. Number 3, the result is teachers who do these things tend to, and this is a surprise, tend to use intimidation. They tend to use intimidation. And the reason is because all of this leads to more misbehavior, and so they get frustrated. And they find themselves, despite having an image of being a nice person, and we all are in danger of this, is that in the face of day after day struggling with behavior, it's normal to say things you regret, to pull a student aside and you're just one-on-one with a student and you admonish that student, or you lecture that student, or you lecture your class as a form of punishment. You glare at students, use sarcasm, things like this, and then it affects your mood. And so that leads to the nice teacher, ironically, is the teacher that students dislike. So these are teachers who generally aren't very likable because it's chaotic, for one thing, and students can't learn, they can't enjoy, they're being made fun of because the teacher is just reminding, redirecting, and constantly looking for a kernel of goodness in the misbehavior, in the breaking rules that protect learning. I contend that if a student yells out in class, it is not a nice thing because they are interfering with learning, with the purpose of being there in class. Now, that doesn't mean that I respond in a mean way. The solution isn't to be mean at all. The solution, and again, you're going to see some irony here, is to have a classroom management plan. This is a takeaway, is you have a classroom management plan that you follow to a T because it's fair for every student. And the other thing is, because you're consistently following it, you become a referee, not a judge. A judge is resented because a judge isn't always fair. But a referee follows what has already been set in a rule book, or in this case, your classroom management plan. Students appreciate this. They know that when they break a rule, they know the result. They're not going to blame you. They're not going to be angry at you. They're going to reflect on their misbehavior. It's the nice teachers who create a lot of resentment, not only from being inconsistent, but also all this stuff, it feels manipulative. Students feel that too, even as young as kindergarten and first grade. They feel it when you are false praising and catching students doing good and rewarding in exchange for good behavior and token economies and all this sort of stuff. Again, it can work in the moment, but it snuffs out the intrinsic motivation, what we really want, the long-term success of our students. And so these teachers who follow a plan like a referee, they are beloved, respected, looked up to, admired as teachers. And so really the best definition of nice is this teacher who follows their plan, which frees them to not have to use intimidation, glaring, lecturing, pulling aside, manipulating, false praise, telling difficult students how wonderful they are 1 minute and chastising, berating them the next minute, which is what these kids have gone through. There's a lot to this topic, obviously, which we will cover in future videos, but please do me a favor. Leave a comment below what area of this that you would like me to cover. Is it rewards? Is it praising, how to praise more effectively? Anything and everything like that. If you have questions about these things, leave them below. In many cases, I won't be able to answer your question directly, but I'll include it in a future video, okay? I hope this helps. Hope you're having a great week and a great summer, and I'll see you next time.